Hey Finxters, welcome. It's time that we discuss what is data pre-processing. But before we understand what is data pre-processing, there are a few concepts that we need to be clear about. So let's have a look at them. So what's a data set? A data set is a collection of data objects. Now, what are data objects? Data objects can be described by a number of features that can capture the basic characteristics of an object. So this means a data set can be anything, like a table containing numerous columns and rows. Now this table will have certain features. So what are features? Features are often called as variables, characteristics, fields, attributes, or the dimensions of the data object. There can be different types of features that we can come across when we deal with data. For instance, color, mileage, and power can be considered as features of the car dataset. Now, features can be categorical or numerical. Confusing, isn't it? Like it was all theory. So let's have a look at an example so that we can visualize things better. Now this right here on the screen is a data set. As you can see, this is a table containing 5 columns and numerous rows. Each row has certain value, while each column depicts a certain feature or a characteristic which identifies this table. By that I mean name is a feature, country is another feature, age is another feature, and so on. Now in this table you can see that we have two types of values, text and numerical values. So we can categorize the features as numeric and categorical features. That means the columns name, country, and purchased have categorical values, while the columns age and salary have numeric values, or these represent the numeric features. Now if we consider that this data set represents whether a product was purchased or not, such that we have the name, country, age, and salary of each user who has purchased the product, in that case we'll find that the last column, that is the purchased column, is the most important column that we need, because this is the column that will help us to identify whether the product was purchased or not, and thereby we can reach a final outcome with the help of this column. So this column can be considered as the dependent variable column, or purchased is our dependent variable in this data set. Now the other columns, that is name, country, age, and salary, are independent variables. So they form or they constitute the matrix of features. Yes, the independent variables or the independent features, when clubbed together, form the matrix of features. Now we are going to use the matrix of features quite a lot later on in this course. So it is quite important for you to differentiate between the matrix of features and the dependent variable. So I hope with the help of this example, you now understand what is a data set, what are features, and what are the different types of features within the data set. Now let's move on to understand what is data pre-processing. Data pre-processing is that step in machine learning in which the data is transformed or encoded so that the machine can read and parse it. In simple terms, the data features can be interpreted by the algorithm after undergoing data pre-processing. To further simplify things, let us understand why data pre-processing. Once we understand why we need data pre-processing, the entire purpose of explaining data pre-processing will be crystal clear to you. Now raw data can be anything. It can be a table, or it can be an image, or it can even be a paragraph containing certain information. Now this raw data often contains numerous errors. So let's move on to our example once again. If you have a look, we have couple of fields in the age and salary columns which are empty, which means this data set is incomplete. Therefore, when we try to feed in an algorithm to the machine, it might lead to incorrect outputs or erroneous outputs because this data set lacks consistency. Also, another point to be noted is that a machine only understands the language of numerical values or mathematical equations. So we cannot just feed in the categorical data into the machine. We must have some mechanism to convert these values to a numeric value and then feed it in to the machine. So this is what data pre-processing helps us to do. That's why it plays such a vital role in machine learning. So as we were discussing, raw data often contains numerous errors. As we saw in the example, which lacked certain attribute values, therefore it lacks consistency and completeness. This is where data pre-processing comes into the picture and provides a proven method of resolving these issues. So now you understand why data pre-processing plays such a vital role in machine learning. Now data pre-processing undergoes a series of steps which we will be discussing very soon. Let's have a look at these steps one by one. The first step is to import the necessary libraries. In order to perform data pre-processing, we need to import certain libraries. For example, the NumPy library, the Pandas library, the Matplotlib library, and the scikit library. Do not worry, we will be discussing all these in details later on. As of now, please focus what are the steps involved in data pre-processing. After we have imported the necessary libraries, the next step is to import the data set that has been given to us, or the data set that we need to feed into the machine. After that, we need to check and handle the missing values. As you saw in the example, there were certain missing values. We need to manage that data set and handle the missing values. After we are done with handling the missing values, we need to encode the categorical data. We need to encode the categorical data because, as I already mentioned, a machine does not understand texts. It only understands mathematical equations or numerical values. So we need a certain method to convert those text values into numerical values. Then we need to split the data set into training set and test set. We will be covering this later on. And finally, we need to perform something known as feature scaling. So that was it for this short video. Please join me in the next video where we are going to discuss the important libraries that we need to import, and then we shall be importing the data set. See you soon.